Well, just indulge me for a moment. Imagine going to a labor ward ready to deliver, but the nurses don't give you full attention because you can't fully articulate and communicate how you feel. Or better yet, taking your child to hospital and you have to note down copiously how the child is feeling to a doctor, and the doctor has to communicate back to you in writing because you cannot express yourself, you cannot talk. Well, tell you what, most deaf people end up misdiagnosed because of lack of proper communication channels, together with other array of challenges, as narrated by Beldeen Waliaula in this special feature of Silent Mothers.
Parenting is always a challenging affair, but these challenges are more pronounced and unique to deaf mothers. On this special feature of Silent Mothers, I highlight the struggles deaf mothers go through in their parenting journey. My name is Beldeen Waliaula. In Uthiru area, Nairobi County, we meet Maria Lukiachi, 35 years old and a mother of 2 sons. She has a hearing disability. Hearing impairment is one of the congenital disabilities that occur during birth or even adulthood. It presents conditions for increased challenges, problems, and general suffering.
I was born hearing, but when I was 6 months, I became deaf. That's what my parents would tell me. But my parents died. I'm an orphan. I grew up with my grandmother who told me that I was born hearing.
Maria has a catering and dressmaking skills, which she acquired while in school. But currently she's not working. She opted to stay at home due to her sickly child who needs her attention.
I discussed with my husband. I stopped working. I come stay with my family to take care of the baby. As the baby grows, then I can look for a job later.
Her journey to motherhood has been rocky and disheartening from the start, right in the labor ward.
When I was giving birth, my mother-in-law took me to hospital, and it was a big challenge because I couldn't explain how I was feeling to the nurse, and they would tell me just to sit there and wait. I remember the way they would test me whether I had dilated. This is the time I was going to give birth, and I was not understanding what they are doing, and I was feeling it. There was no interpreter. I was feeling it was a challenge.
The memories of the traumatizing experience are still fresh. She says the successful birth of her baby remains a miracle to her.
When I gave birth, the nurse wasn't even there to know how I opened up and gave birth. I felt like they were ignoring me somehow. Because sometimes I was feeling the nurse should have seen I am deaf and maybe tried to look for an interpreter or talk to me in a better way that I could understand. Remember when she was telling me to push the baby, instead of talking to me, would slap me to push. And it was making me very angry. I would see how they were treating the hearing people. They were just talking to them nicely. But to me, I was feeling I missed because there was no interpreter for me.
Her second delivery was better, but the baby did not live long. At 2 years, the child had complications that they couldn't understand due to the language barrier.
Baby just started crying, touching the stomach. But we couldn't know what was happening because of language. I took this baby to the hospital. It was at night. We went to the hospital and the doctor checked on the baby, and the doctor said the baby is well and couldn't get anything. But anytime you'd touch the stomach of this baby, the baby would just cry. It was constipation that was there for long. The baby had a lot of pain. We don't understand, even to now we don't understand how our baby died. But the baby stayed there for 2 weeks, then early morning at 5, the baby died. We didn't get proper information like what exactly happened. The temperature wasn't high. We really didn't. In fact, it's our neighbor who kept telling us this baby is crying so much.
Dealing with grief is also not easy for those living with hearing disability. No one could read her expressions nor know her emotional needs during that time when she badly needed a shoulder to lean on.
Sometimes I was blaming myself. I was never giving the baby enough water or what was happening. But many people thought I had neglected the baby, but to me, I knew I had done the best.
She was lucky and got pregnant for the third time. But the labor ward experience was the same, a bitter one. Most hospitals in the country lack sign language interpreters. Therefore, communication between patients with hearing disabilities and health professionals are always a complex matter.
And this was a bit also painful. The doctor would slap me, the nurse would slap me or grab me hard when telling me to push, and I was feeling like the first one and the second one and this third one was almost the same. The nurse didn't know what to tell me, how to tell me to give birth. The nurse would pinch me sometimes for me to push the baby, and when they would pinch me, I would cry because I didn't know why they are doing this. I was feeling tired. Sometimes when they were checking, just insert fingers in me without explaining, why are you inserting fingers in me? What are you checking? What are you doing? And just talk, stop, and telling me stop. There are times I would feel like I would tell the nurse, stop talking, I am deaf. Yeah, just treat me nicely.
Taking her children to the clinic is also an uphill task. Every communication has to be in writing. Even the next doctor's appointment has to be written. She actually missed appointments after doctors forgot to put them down in writing.
I will tell them I need an interpreter, or if I tell I'm deaf, they look at me like, yes, we can only write down. That's the only thing we can do. You tell me how the baby is feeling, and the nurse writes down. Or if the baby has high temperature, sometimes they will even think I can hear. They will talk again, and I have to tell them I am deaf.
Parenting children who can hear is also a challenge. But Maria is lucky that her eldest son can pick few signs that aid her in communication.
Like I will show him water, and the next time I will tell him, bring me water, he will understand. Or I'll ask him, where is your father? He will tell me he has gone to work. But it's when visitors come in the house and knock the door, and sometimes I can't hear, my son will help to open and maybe explain what the visitor wants.
Another situation for Maria is helping her son with his homework. Most deaf people do not understand Swahili, as the deaf curriculum is taught in English. Maria finds it hard helping her son with Swahili assignments, and she relies on her brother-in-law, who often comes to her rescue. Catherine Kenya is 26 years old and a mother to one. She also has a hearing disability. Getting pregnant was frustrating for her. She says she was not ready to be a mother, keeping in mind her financial condition. She even tried to abort the baby.
I was feeling like I want to abort the baby because I didn't have a job. I just finished college and I'm an orphan. I will take concentrated still leave so that I get rid of the pregnancy. I realized I was still pregnant when I went for a checkup, and I was angry with the doctor.
During her pregnancy, she only went to the antenatal clinic once and did not even notice she was due.
For the 9 months I stayed in the house, life was challenging. Sometimes I would miss house rent, food. Sometimes my church friends could help. It was COVID time and I couldn't work.
Parenting has not been a smooth sail for her.
It was challenging because the neighbors could hear the baby crying and they could throw stones on the roof to wake me up, and this traumatized my baby. And the baby couldn't sleep because of the noise. The neighbors did not know how to communicate with me.
COVID-19 has also affected those with hearing disabilities immensely. They usually communicate by reading lips. With everyone now wearing masks, a very important channel of communication is now sealed.
So when the hearing people have masks on and they're trying to sign, it's very hard because I can miss what they're signing. I prefer when they lower their masks so that I can see, I can lip read. Because when you cover your lips, I can't read some signs that I can lip read, or especially when we don't understand each other.
Financial challenges did not spare them as Maria's husband, who is also deaf, lost his job. And now there's a small business that doesn't bring enough income.
My husband's salary is not enough for all of us. Yes, we have really struggled. We have struggled. There are times I even had to go to the National Council to ask them to give me the disability card to take it to work, especially before when I was working, so that they don't tax us. I've never received any money, any funding from the government.
Catherine was taken in by a well-wisher who saw her parenting struggles, as most of the time she couldn't fend for her baby. She was jobless despite doing the catering at school. Also, due to COVID-19, she couldn't sustain her mtumba business. Most deaf people have also fallen victim to COVID-19 misinformation. They have little or no knowledge at all on the health risks posed by the virus. To make matters worse, most COVID-19 announcements lack sign interpretation. Lillian Atieno is 44 years. She sells sweets and soap in Nairobi. She says she has been a victim of COVID-19 misinformation.
I've heard of COVID-19, but I didn't have deep information about it. I hear the government announcing it, but there are some things I don't understand.
She has so far received 3 COVID-19 jabs. She thought she could receive more and more doses due to lack of proper information.
I got vaccinated in April. I got a text, then I went again in July. There was confusion and they sent me another text the third time I went. I showed them that I've been vaccinated twice, but they thought it was the first time. I struggled to explain to them because there was no interpreter. In August, I got another jab, but my body has been okay, but nothing has happened.
Sign language interpreter and advocate for maternal mental health for deaf mothers, Judy Kihumba, says deaf mothers go through a lot when it comes to seeking maternal health care and healthcare services for their children.
I have a few friends who have lost pregnancies. Reason is that you go to the hospital with, when the pregnancy is a bit small, when you go to the hospital and the doctor, they don't diagnose the right way, so they will give you medication for the wrong thing, and maybe that's a pregnancy. And I have seen a few deaf people lose their pregnancies, and I've also seen them get miscarriages, them lose their children, and I thought the worst thing we can do is misdiagnosing a deaf person or a child born by a deaf mother, because you explained something to the deaf mother and they got it the other way around.
Due to many challenges that deaf mothers go through, Judy has offered herself to always be available whenever a deaf mother needs an interpreter while at the hospital. She even goes ahead to do video calls with doctors when the hospital is far from her reach.
I work with a few hospitals where, and I have even told them, and we have agreed that if they get a deaf mother, they just call me. I can do either a video call if I'm not available to go there. There are times we'll do video calls. There are times we'll chat with the deaf person to explain to me, so that as I explain to the doctor, it becomes easier. I've realized that we have, and our health facilities have to be very, very intentional in taking care of the deaf people.
The Ministry of Health says it's trying to incorporate sign language as a subject in Kenya medical training colleges so that most of the nurses will be equipped with sign language skills.
However, accessing care has been a challenge because some facilities we may not be able to have interpreters, we may not be able to have people who have studied sign language. And we are working with KMTC, which is one of our mid-level training colleges, to ensure that we have a significant proportion of healthcare workers trained on sign language so that they can be able to assist fill this gap.
It will be very important to work with first government departments that deal with people with disabilities, and secondly associations and foundations that support people with disabilities. We highly recommend that such people should best be reached through targeted outreaches or through what you will see in our deployment plan we call inreaches, meaning like when they are within a facility, within a known facility, then a clinic is organized for them to be vaccinated. We know there are those who are unable to hear, those who are unable to see, and you need certain special skills to be able to assist all of them. So organizations and well-wishers who are able to support them will be very welcome to work with government, both at national and county governments, to ensure that these people get vaccinated.
Judy is also calling on the Ministry of Health to hire sign language interpreters to aid in communication whenever deaf persons visit health facilities.
Every hospital, especially the big hospitals, like the referral hospitals, the level something, those big hospitals, yes, they need to have a specific person who is a sign language interpreter. As much as they will train other nurses and other doctors within, they need to be intentional. The same way we have, because I know they have a communication department. Every hospital has a communication department, and in that department they should have a person who is like a central person who can communicate to the deaf people.
But one man, Luke Muleka, seems to have a solution to the tribulations of those with hearing disabilities. He says the year 2020 was challenging to deaf people, especially those who found themselves in COVID-19 isolation wards.
If you are to visit a person in isolation as a doctor or a nurse, you are supposed to mask up. That means you've covered everything that is required for sign language, that is facial expression. Then also you are supposed to be in gloves, meaning that now your hands cannot give those gestures that are required because gloves will not be able to sign. You'll not be able to sign very well. So when we saw this, it was an opportunity for us to develop what we call a response. And the response was, how do we get an interpreter out of the isolation room so that we can have it done virtually? So that is when we came up with to develop this application that was supposed to remove the interpreter from the isolation room and put them on a virtual space where now they can be able to help the deaf and the doctor.
So, just how does this application work? And how helpful is it to those with hearing disabilities?
It's found on an Android platform, currently on an Android platform, and Google Play Store. You just download the app, then register. When you register, it gives you opportunity to register either as a doctor, as a deaf person, as a parent, or as a professional. The app works in two ways. It has voice and video. So the phone or the screen of the phone will be facing an interpreter the other side. So the deaf will be able to communicate with the interpreter. And when you are speaking, the interpreter is able to sign for the deaf. When the deaf is signing, the interpreter is speaking, and the doctor is able to hear. So it works in two ways, voice and also videos.
The Assist All app is also said to be a source of employment to sign language interpreters.
Let me say Beldeen wants an interpreter. What she will do is you will download and find out which type of interpreter you're looking for. Do you want male? Do you want female? Then from that, do you want an interpreter who's been in the space for a couple of years experience? And also, in addition, you'll be finding out, do you want an interpreter in the medical space? So that helps you as the user. But again, before you get, now, when you want to make this call to the interpreter, you will require to have some money on your wallet. That means we are also integrating with the M-Pesa so that you are able to pay directly to convert money from the M-Pesa into on your wallet on Assist All to be able to dial out now to the interpreter. Once you've finished, it will actually pay the interpreter there and then, so that the interpreter is not waiting to be paid later on. What it's doing is we are providing quality interpretation services. The other aspect we are doing is we are giving you interpretation when you need. That means we are bringing in efficiency. The other aspect is we are reducing the costs. For example, an interpreter moving from Karen to go and offer interpretation services, let me say in Thika, it will take a lot of time and money for you to move from Karen to Thika. But what you're expecting is with Assist All, the interpreter can offer services at any time wherever they are. Remember, a sign language interpreter plays a crucial role in the life of a deaf person.
Until the government makes it intentional to include sign language interpreters in the institutions and hospitals, those living with hearing disabilities will continue struggling when it comes to accessing healthcare services and other government services. My name is Beldeen Waliaula.
Well, a very moving, compelling feature there by Beldeen. Thank you so very much for highlighting this, just addressing some of the challenges that, the other able they go through. This is the deaf in this country. And also we thank the government that they have that salutary effort of making sure that right now the CBC also is streamlining the Kenya sign language tutorial. Thank you so much. Right, time for me to slake my thirst when we